Turn on, tune in, drop out. Hello and welcome. Thanks for tuning in again, guys and girls. This is John with Pondering Moments. This week we're going to be covering some quotes from Timothy Leary. This was a request a couple months ago, so sorry it took so long to get to it. So this is going to be a mix of quotes and excerpts from some of his readings, speeches and whatnot. And without further ado, let's get into it. Women who seek to be equal with men lack ambition. Think for yourself. Question authority. Admit it. You aren't like them. You're not even close. You may occasionally dress yourself up as one of them, watch the same mindless television shows as they do, maybe even eat the same fast food sometimes. But it seems that the more you try to fit in, the more you feel like an outsider, watching the normal people as they go about their automatic existences. For every time you say club passwords like, "Have a nice day," and "Weather's awful today, eh?" you yearn inside to say forbidden things like, "Tell me something that makes you cry," or "What do you think deja vu is for?" Face it, you even want to talk to that girl in the elevator. But what if that girl in the elevator and the balding man who walks past your cubicle at work are thinking the same thing? Who knows what you might learn from taking a chance on conversation with a stranger? Everyone carries a piece of the puzzle. Nobody comes into your life by mere coincidence. Trust your instincts. Do the unexpected. Find the others. LSD is a psychedelic drug which occasionally causes psychotic behavior in people who have not taken it. Intelligence is the ultimate aphrodisiac. Emotions are the lowest form of consciousness. Emotional actions are the most contracted, narrowing, dangerous form of behavior. The romantic poetry and fiction of the last 200 years has quite blinded us to the fact that emotions are an active and harmful form of stupor. Any peasant can tell you that. Beware of emotions. Any child can tell you that. Watch out for the emotional person. He is a lurching lunatic. Emotions are caused by biochemical secretions in the body to serve during the state of acute emergency. An emotional person is a blind, crazed maniac. Emotions are addictive and narcotic and stupeficant. Do not trust anyone who comes on emotional. What are the emotions? In a book entitled Interpersonal Diagnosis of Personality, written when I was a psychologist, I presented classifications of emotions and detailed descriptions of their moderate and extreme manifestations. Emotions are all based on fear. The emotional person cannot think. He cannot perform any effective game action except in acts of physical aggression and strength. The emotional person is turned off sensually. His body is a churning robot. The only state in which we can learn, harmonize, grow, merge, join, understand is the absence of emotion. This is called bliss or ecstasy, attained through centering the emotions. Conscious love is not an emotion. It is a serene merging with yourself, with other people, with other forms of energy. Love cannot exist in an emotional state. The great kick of the mystic experience, the exultant, ecstatic hit, is the sudden relief from the emotional pressure. Did you imagine that there could be emotions in heaven? Emotions are closely tied to ego games. Check your emotions at the door to paradise. If you listen to neurologists and psychiatrists, you'd never fall in love. The most important thing you do in your life is to die. Whether you experience heaven or hell, remember that it is your mind which creates them. We seem to inhabit a universe made up of a small number of elements, particles, bits that swirl in chaotic clouds, occasionally clustering together in geometrically logical temporary configurations. In the information communication civilization of the 21st century, creativity and mental excellence will become the ethical norm. The world will be too dynamic, complex, and diversified, too cross-linked by the global immediacies of modern quantum communication for stability of thought or dependability of behavior to be successful. The level of intelligence has been tremendously increased because people are thinking and communicating in terms of screens and not in lettered books. Much of the real action is taking place in what is called cyberspace. People have learned how to boot up, activate, and transmit their brains. Essentially, there's a universe inside your brain. The number of connections possible inside your brain is limitless. And as people have learned to have more managerial and direct creative access to their brains, they have also deployed matrices or networks of people that communicate electronically. There are direct brain-computer link-ups. You could just jack yourself in and pilot your brain around in cyberspace, electronic space. I am 100% in favor of the intelligent use of drugs, and 1000% against the thoughtless use of them, whether caffeine or LSD, and drugs are not central to my life. If you want to change the way people respond to you, change the way you respond to people. Courage is the key to creativity and to any relinquishing of ego structure. In the information age, you don't teach philosophy as they did after feudalism. You perform it. If Aristotle were alive today, he'd have a talk show. A country run by law is a country ruined by lawyers. It is neurologically impossible for a lawyer or a military man to think creatively or to act in harmony with nature. I am looking forward to the most fascinating experience in life, which is dying. I predict that if control of drugs were administered by law enforcement agencies, the result would be a black market more irrational and widespread than that of alcohol prohibition, and the growth of enormous police state repressive bureaucracy. And who indeed wanted that? People ask me how many times I've taken LSD, and I don't count. But it's the same thing when they ask me how many times I've made love. The answer is not enough. I was ovulated, fertilized, and born in the 20th century. I can't wipe out my whole personal background, or the fact that almost everyone I talk to today is brain damaged by our education. I think American education makes us hopeless symbol addicts. It's designed to produce docile automatons, but it's going to take years before you can urge young people to drop out of school without appearing to be an eccentric or a madman. The old cliché must be updated. Crime does not pay for the three victims of every crime: the victim, the taxpayer, and the crook. Crime does pay, however, and handsomely, for the attorneys who produce the National Crime Sin Show. All deities and demons, all heavens and hells, are internal. The essence of new is, of course, the modern version of Roman Colosseum shows and gladiator combats. American civilization, for certain explicit biblical reasons, apparently requires that its leaders, its political heroes, be publicly sacrificed. Just as every Hollywood picture is put together by producers who are always in tight control of the enterprise and reap the lion's share of the profits, so is the outlaw industry managed by lawyers. Criminals, sinners, from the Black Panthers to FBI chiefs and White House officials, appear on the scene, make their play, and get dragged off stage, but the lawyers remain, administrating and profiting from the action and booking the next show. The underlying solution, repeated again and again, is to recognize that your brain is producing the visions. They do not exist. Nothing exists except as your consciousness gives it life. Today, reality is created mainly by television and movies. The media producers have become a priest caste who guide, direct, and manage reality. I ain't gonna work on Maggie's farm no more. Don't follow leaders, watch your parking meters. When Bob Dylan sang these lines in the 1960s, he was performing philosophy, transmitting powerful new ideas for which his mass audience was ready. Dylan thus triggered off heretical, sinful acts of resistance to authority, rejection of materialism, refusal to join the mechanical factory culture. One of the many curious aspects of American culture is the absence of an upper class, a high society, an hedonic aristocracy. America, since Lincoln, has been a heavy, feet-on-the-ground John Wayne society, the triumph of mediocrity and practicality. The free consciousness has only to hear and remember the teachings in order to be liberated. The Tibetan Book of the Dead is ostensibly a book describing the experiences to be expected at the moment of death, during an intermediate phase lasting 49 days and during rebirth into another bodily frame.